Today I'm going to give you a brief update on our activities in the country and break it down into three specific areas of our business that are advancing all equally and quite substantially. We do have some forward-looking statements that I direct your attention to. So I always start off with our investment rationale. Japan, as many of you may know, is a country that has, for the last 80 years, been completely underexplored and really not focused on by the international mining community because of the government moratorium in 1943 that closed all the gold mines in 1943 in favor of allowing the workers to move into base metal mines and factories to support the Second World War. And after the war, 64 mines that were closed during that period never did reopen. And so there's this incredible legacy of closed mines in Japan and a wonderful endowment of gold resources that are yet to be exploited. So in 2012, the mining law was changed in Japan to allow for the first time foreign companies and individuals to be able to enter the country and to hold prospecting rights, mining rights, or to own mines. And we were the first group in the world to go into Japan, and we've been fortunate to really establish ourselves very well there. So with the first mover advantage that we have 31 projects across the country now. We dominate the 5 major gold districts of Japan. We cover over 40 of the mines that were closed in 1943 and not reopened. And virtually all of those mines are low sulfidation epithermal gold mines that are similar to the only producing mine in Japan today, the Hishikari gold mine, which has had a wonderful legacy of producing over 8 million ounces of gold between 30 and 40 grams per ton. We've been very fortunate to attract the 2 largest gold miners in the world, Barrick and Newmont, to be our partners and be associated with us in the company, and I'll speak more about that in a moment. And we have a team that's very strong in Japan that has a great track record of making discoveries internationally. So as I mentioned, we have 31 projects across Japan, and we really break it down into 2 buckets. One is an alliance, a countrywide alliance that we have with Barrick Gold Corporation that covers 29 of our projects. That alliance has been one that has been very active over the last 2.5 years, notwithstanding the pandemic. And we've been quite fortunate to have Barrick solely fund the advancement of and evaluation of the 29 projects that they've initially looked at. This culminated in an important decision that they made at the end of August this year in terms of selecting which projects may make or may have the possibility to host a Tier 1 or Tier 2 gold deposit. So I'll speak about that in a moment. The other 2 projects that we have are outside the Barrick Alliance. These 2 are supported by Newmont. Newmont has the right of first refusal to be our partner on those 2 projects. And we own them 100%, but they've kindly provided significant technical support to help us advance those 2 project areas. I will say that with Barrick, we're very fortunate that we have a very strong technical team and an executive committee that has helped us with the evaluation of the 29 projects and their selection going forward. So as I mentioned, Barrick has made a decision at the end of August to advance 6 of our projects to the next phase of evaluation. These are 6 projects that they feel have the potential to host a Tier 1, being 5 million plus ounces, or Tier 2 being 3 million plus ounces of gold in terms of hosting those size of ore bodies. In addition to that, more recently, we've picked up a number of other project areas, and Barrick has selected 3 of those project areas for further study over the next 6 to 12 months to see if they might fit into that advanced basket. Now that Barrick has moved the 6 projects into the next phase, it's a 3-year period where they will solely fund the advancement of those projects, and the only way that Barrick actually earns an interest in those projects is by completing a pre-feasibility study to get to a 51% interest in the project. And then by fully funding a bankable feasibility study, they could advance to a 75% interest. So we're fully carried through a bankable feasibility study, and then at that point we would be in the position where we would place our 25%, or would have to fund our 25% interest in terms of a mine build. The 6 projects that they've selected are right across the country. So not focused in one specific area, but actually in 3 of the 5 gold provinces. 3 of the projects are in the northern island of Hokkaido. 1 is in the long central island of Honshu, and 2 are either side of the Hishikari mine in southern Kyushu. And so we'll look at those in a little bit more detail. Starting in the north in Hokkaido, the map that you can see is the Kitami metallogenic province. All the projects that are outlined in a variety of colors are our Japan Gold project portfolio in this area. The 3 projects that are highlighted in red are the 3 projects that Barrick has selected to advance to the next phase with that potential for Tier 1 or Tier 2 ore bodies. And then between the Aibetsu and Tenru projects, you'll see a dark blue area that's outlined, which is a more recently acquired project area that has one that's under further study by Barrick at this time. We're still being very, very active and generative in all the areas of Japan, and we hope to be able to report on more information in that respect soon. The other project, the red project called Hakuryu, is a project that is adjacent to the 3rd largest past producing mine in Japan that produced almost 2.5 million ounces. And it was one of the very few mines that reopened after the war and was successful and produced until the mid-1970s. The light blue project area is one project that we'll be referring to in a few moments, the one project that's outside the Barrick Alliance, where we're actively drilling, and we have drill results pending and right through the end of this year. And the green project areas are what we call the other projects. So these are the projects that Barrick didn't select to go forward to the next stage, but that had been fully evaluated by Barrick, and where we're fortunate enough to have the data on these projects now that we've collected on behalf of Barrick and that Barrick has funded, and we can now market these projects to other third parties. Moving further across Honshu to southwest Honshu, we just have a couple of small projects in that area. Barrick has selected one portion of one project called the Buho project, and that's one that's under further evaluation. Moving down now to Honshu, the central island on the Noto Peninsula, we have a project, the Togi Gold Field, outlined in red, which was the site of a historic gold field back in the turn of the early in the 1900s. We found some of the very highest grade rock samples that we collected throughout the country in that particular area across a project that's about 8 kilometers from the southwest to the northeast and about 4 kilometers east-west. And so we're very pleased about that. And we were so encouraged that we actually picked up 145 square kilometers that you see outlined in blue around that Barrick has had us do evaluation on, and it's part of that interim phase now where we're completing that initial evaluation. Moving down to northern or middle Kyushu, as it's called, the middle Kyushu epithermal gold province. This is a small gold province that has a past-producing 1 million ounce plus gold mine. We have 3 projects in that area that didn't meet the Barrick criteria, but that also have great potential. And then finally moving to southern Kyushu, into the most prolific gold-producing area of the country, the Hokusatsu region. This is the area that hosts the giant Hishikari gold mine that, as I mentioned, is the flagship of Sumitomo Metal Mining. It's outlined in black on the map that you can see, and it's got a very small footprint. But again, it's mined over 8 million ounces at between 30 and 40 grams per ton. It still has over 5 million ounces of reserves remaining. So it's a wonderful Tier 1 world-class high-grade ore body. We were very fortunate that when we came into this area, and quite remarkably, the ground around the Hishikari mine and throughout that Hokusatsu region was predominantly open. And so we moved very quickly to pick up over 84% of all prospective ground in that region. And you can see our projects outlined in green and light blue and red. The 2 projects that Barrick selected are the ones in red to move to the next phase. And as you might imagine, the Abino project is directly adjacent to the Hishikari mine to the north, and then the Mazobe project is a little bit further to the south. Both these projects have had significant advancement since Barrick made their announcement at the end of August. We are now just completing geophysical surveys, IP surveys over both of those. We're preparing to drill at the Mazobe project in the south, and we're identifying our drill targets at the Abino project in the north. So it's going to be a very exciting year next year as Barrick starts to drill the projects that are in the advanced portfolio. The green projects are what we call the other basket, as I mentioned, and so those are projects that a number of other international companies are now discussing with us with regard to potentially partnering. And the light blue project in this area is our one project that's outside the Barrick Alliance that covers a mineralized trend that hosts 5 historic mines and that runs approximately 8 kilometers in length. We've done substantial work in this area of mapping, geology, geophysics, geochemistry, and scout drilling. But over the past year, we haven't done a lot of work on this project, only because Barrick's been so active around us, we wanted to get that evaluation completed. But we're now designing our programs for the coming year. As I mentioned, with the other projects, we are very focused on really 3 different scenarios. One is, should we take projects and keep them for ourselves now and add them to the 2 that we've kept outside the Barrick Alliance? The second thing that we can think about is project sales. A number of people have suggested that they might want to buy projects from us. And so as, in part, a project generator in Japan, that might be a good way to add additional capital to our treasury. We're well funded through 2022 and well into 2023, but it's always good to add more capital, and especially in these somewhat turbulent times. In addition to that, we have, as I mentioned, a number of international companies that are interested in becoming new partners in Japan that have watched us very closely, and that a number of them were part of the competitive process that we engaged in about 2.5 to 3 years ago, where we ultimately selected Barrick to be our partner. But there was a number of other companies that unfortunately were a little disappointed that they weren't our countrywide partner. So hopefully we can re-engage with them and advance projects forward. To take you outside now the Barrick Alliance with the 2 projects that we have and that are supported by Newmont, we're really going to focus on our one project that's up in Hokkaido that we're actively drilling on now. So with the project, the Akutahara project in Hokkaido, again, we've done all the preliminary work under Newmont's guidance, the mapping, the geology, the geophysics, the geochemistry, and we're right now at the point where we're drilling prospects. We've been fortunate to drill we've identified 3 significant prospects across the Akutahara project. We've put 18 holes into our Rio prospect so far with very strong results, with intersections as high as 20 meters at 6.3 grams and ultra-high grade intersections of approximately half a meter at over 1,300 grams. So we're seeing significant gold in these systems, and we're really being encouraged that moving a little deeper beyond the historic workings is where we should really be going and focusing our drill bit. We also have 2 other project areas that we've been drilling as well. So this is the Akutahara project, and briefly I'll show you that as I mentioned, we've drilled the Rio prospect, 18 holes that we've reported on now. I'm going back in to drill 2 more holes before the snow really flies in Hokkaido this year. Our rigs are just being mobilized to do that right now, and we think that'll really tie the story together nicely. We have drilled down in the Saroma Valley in over a 1 kilometer mineralized area, and I hope to report those drill results to you in the coming weeks very shortly. And then we've just finished 3 deep holes, 700-meter holes at the Katano East prospect, where we're drilling deeper to try and find the upflow or the feeder zones that have brought the gold mineralization to the surface. I'm going to move past the Rio prospect, but basically just to say that the Rio prospect had 5 underground working areas that were well underway in 1943 when the government shut it down. We've been drilling below those shallow underground areas that have gone down to about 75 to 100 meters. And we've really had the results that we've been hoping for in these epithermal systems, where the gold grades are getting higher and the veins are getting wider as we're going deeper. And this is a cross-section that really demonstrates that, really at depth, that's where we're finding the prize at this point. Our share structure is a very unique one for a junior company. We have over half our company is held by some of the largest institutions in the world, which include BlackRock, Rothschilds, Regal, Equinox Partners. All these companies are positioned there to be our partners going forward as we hopefully build mines in the future with Barrick or Newmont or others. And so we're very fortunate to have a significant group there. You can also see that Newmont owns 10% of our business as well. We have a very strong board that we really refreshed about a year, almost 2 years ago now, that include the former Canadian ambassador to Japan, an international mining executive that's put 7 mines into production in 5 countries, one of the top mining executives from Japan that was previously the chief executive officer of Sumitomo Corporation's Global Minerals Division, and a number of other very important participants. And really to summarize for you in the time that I've got left is that Japan Gold is a very unique opportunity. We're restarting a gold mining industry in a country. So we've been fortunate to go into a country that's been dormant for almost 80 years, to be the first mover, to come into a country that has a very safe geopolitical environment, that has an incredible gold endowment that's not being explored, that's been vastly underexplored. We've been able to de-risk the company by not only bringing in Barrick, but also Newmont. So we have the 2 largest gold mining companies in the world that are supporting our activities there, and also bringing in some of the biggest investors in the world to participate with us and be our key shareholders. We've put together a team of 65 people that are geologists, field assistants, a permitting team, and also our own drilling division in the country to make sure that we can move ahead unhindered as we seek to turn on the gold mining industry in Japan. And so we encourage you to come along with us and join this adventure, this incredible journey that has taken us 10 years to get to this point, but now we're really starting to see the fruits of our labor. So thanks very much for participating in this presentation today.